Hello, I'm Pranitha. I'm a social worker and I am here to discuss with you a few aspects of domestic violence. I grew up in a small community in a village and my mindset about domestic violence was very different in the past than what it is today. I grew up thinking that it is normal for a woman to be in a marriage, to be subjected to violence, but we as women have to continue. We have to be faithful, good wives who take all of this and somehow be heroines who bear up with all the pain and suffering and continue to run a family. Things changed as I grew up and as I understood that we as human beings are born equal and there is no difference between a man and a woman, and these gender inequalities are brought about by the community and the systems, the patriarchal system that we live in. So today I work and I consult on issues of domestic violence, and the main aim is to support and assist individuals affected by domestic violence, and I work to strengthen the community response and to prevent domestic violence. 2 out of 5 families in India suffer from domestic violence, and let us not forget that when we say family, it's not one individual. It is the entire family that is suffering. Now, what are the things we must remember, or how do we recognize domestic violence? First of all, we must remember that we as human beings must treat each other with respect and dignity. At any point, if you feel disrespected in your marriage, you need to start thinking. And domestic violence could be emotional, it could be the commission of an act, which is a physical abuse, or it could be an omission of an act, which is complete, isolation, not tending to your needs when you're sick, not communicating with you. All of these are also domestic violence. So it can be financial, it can be physical, it can be sexual, it can be emotional. And all of these are part of domestic violence. How do you recognize that you are part of a domestic violence cycle? There is the cycle of abuse that is accepted worldwide, and it is important to note that this is a pattern that is repeated over and over again in a domestic violence situation. The cycle of abuse involves a calm period, maybe soon after marriage. Sometimes many don't even have that privilege, but there is a calm period when everything seems perfect. And then suddenly the tension increases, it builds up. And there is what we call an incident or an outburst where either you are physically abused or verbally abused. And then you get into a shock because you've never experienced it. And the abuser realizes that, okay, you've experienced this and you're in a shock. So immediately there is a time of reconciliation, or what we call the honeymoon period, where you are showered with flowers, gifts, to make you feel better. And then there is a calm that exists for a little while, and the tension builds. Everything you say, everything you do is now suddenly becoming, it leads to what might be an incident again. So this continues over and over again, and until you recognize that this is a pattern, you will always remember only the good times, and you will always think, oh yes, he was so nice to me, or she was so good to me, and those days will come back. And you will live in denial that your situation is going to change. Now I'm using the gender of he and she because the abuser in majority of the cases is the male and minority of the cases is female. Covering majority of the population, I'm going to refer to the abuser as the he. And then you go into the acute explosion phase, where it starts off with maybe verbal abuse, but then it goes and spirals downward, where it could be hitting, choking, humiliation, sometimes imprisonment, locking you up in a room. There is marital rape, use of weapons, anything that comes into his hand, he will throw at you, beating you with his own hands or whatever he finds around. So this is the phase where you will run for help. You will call the police. You will ask for a social worker's help. But then very quickly, as soon as it enters the honeymoon phase, the cycle begins. I'm sorry, flowers come, and you take back the case, you take back, you think in your mind and say, let me give him another chance. And this continues, okay? Now, many times the survivor or the victim comes to a social worker at the stage just before severe injury or death. Now, if you look at this chart, you should be at 100. But right now, you have forgiven. You have given many chances after many chances. Clients come to us, and I remember the first client who came and told me, I have had enough. I have sent him to 2 rehabs to get over his alcoholism. I've lost 3 teeth. I have had head injuries, multiple stitches on my head. I've got injuries on my neck, hand, and she could show us fresh injuries on her body at that point. So when they come to us, it's after giving many chances, and it is at the end when they think, either I give one more try by asking for help, or I give up my own life. That's when they come to us. And if somebody is coming to you at that point, it is at an utter desperation that they have reached you. So it is important that you take it very seriously. If you are unable to help, call a social worker, call an NGO, call somebody who is maybe somebody you trust, who will not break the confidentiality of the person who's approached you, and ask for help.